Hi guys, I'm sorry we're meeting like this, but I'm trying to film a video for you to sort of take the place of lecture. I realize a lot of you have slower internet connections, and that's why I'm trying to do it this way instead of trying to have something live, because it's not fair to everyone if some of you can't log in. And this way you can also uh, keep the video and watch it whenever you need to. Maybe you can get subtitles for it. So I'm going to basically talk about what I would have talked about, and then there will be directions in Moodle for everything you need to do this week. There's also a PowerPoint that gives more detail into critical thinking and what I was talking about when I said we were going to learn about essay writing. But I'm just going to give you a quick overview right now of what I want you to be thinking about before you look at that other PowerPoint. The other one is a little bit more extensive. It deals with logic. So if you have any questions about it, please feel free to email me. We'll be on this topic for the next 3 weeks. Okay, so email me with any questions or concerns. So, welcome to week 9. I had critical thinking. That's where we are right now. So, what is it? In a recent study, critical thinking was identified as one of the most important skills needed for job success. And how do you get a job? Well, you go to college. So you're in the first step of what's needed to be successful. And that's why we're teaching you about critical thinking. Okay. And another important point about this is that many employers tell you that critical thinking is one of the skills that is lacking the most for the workforce that is now entering into their jobs. So I want you to take this very, very seriously, okay? Critical thinking is actually rated as the #1 skill of increasing importance, and this will continue over the next 5 years or so, okay? So what is it? And that's the major question we're trying to figure out here. Critical thinking is reasonable, it's reflective thinking. It's focused on deciding what to believe or do. It's really best understood as your ability to take charge or control of your own thinking. So another way of looking at it, I think I have a better example for you. It might make this make more sense. So think about it if you go to a store and you want to try on some clothes. So you have to go into the dressing room when you're in the store shopping, okay? How many times do you turn yourself around to look in the mirror, those 3-sided mirrors they have in dressing rooms, before you decide whether you like what you just tried on or not? And do you want to buy it? Do you not want to buy it? How many times do you turn yourself around in that room? So critical thinking is just like that 3-sided mirror in that dressing room. It's a 3-sided mirror of making decisions, okay? It lets you look at all the angles to make the best possible choice. With workplaces getting so much more complex and rapidly changing, and then combined with what is now a recession, it's important that if you get hired at a new location or find a job at some point, that you have these critical thinking skills available to you. So, like most skills, critical thinking can be improved. Critical thinking is harder than people think because it does require knowledge. Thinking is the hardest work there is, which is probably the reason why so few people engage in it. What is the process of critical thinking, though? That's probably what you're wondering. So you have critical thinking in the middle. Think of it like a big circle in the middle. What are the things that go into that big circle? Well, information and description on topics. You have to discover something. You need to explore topics. You can negotiate and cooperate. A lot of times in the workforce, that is something that happens. You're negotiating, you're cooperating with your colleagues, with your peers. Sometimes if you're in a different kind of industry or taking a science class, maybe, you are testing and reviewing and revising things. And then eventually you wind up combining that stuff and applying it. All of those are parts of critical thinking. You already do these things, but now you're giving a name to it and putting it together. Okay. Let's talk about each of those steps in a little bit more detail, though. All right. Informing and describing, what does that mean? That means to clarify what you need to know, what you already know, information you have about the issue. If somebody asks you to write an essay, those are questions you should be asking yourself from the beginning. What do you need to know? What do you already know? And then the information that you already have. So maybe you have a book somewhere. Maybe you've read something somewhere. But that's what you're being asked to do if somebody has you at this first step of informing and describing. First, you need to clarify, okay? The next step would be discovering and exploring. This allows you to look at your issues more closely. You start to be more directed and purposeful in seeking the information to complete a project for work, for school, whatever. And then eventually you move on to negotiating, cooperating, meaning you're going to be able to consider different perspectives or ideas or beliefs. And it allows you to also engage in discussions. This is important in school. It's important in the workforce. Getting that two-sided approach, looking at both sides of an issue, is really, really important to understanding a topic and being informed enough to be able to complete a project, especially in a new job you might be getting. Next, you might go to testing and revising, meaning, okay, I'm working on this project. I've clarified my issue. I've talked about it with people, but now I need to weigh the evidence. I have all of this information about a topic on both sides of the issue. I have to weigh it out. I have to test out different ideas, okay? That's what testing and revising means. You would test out a lot of ideas until you came to the one that you think makes the most sense. After that, you would apply it, meaning you're going to bring together all of the information you have, all of the ideas you have, and you consolidate that, you articulate that into new understandings of the information that you've been looking at, okay? So how do you improve your critical thinking? If you're listening to me and you're like, I have no idea what any of this means or how to fix it, if you know what it means but you think you need work, well, first of all, you should always seek out new ideas. Old, new, it doesn't matter. Seek out ideas. What does that mean? That means exactly what I've been telling you for months now. Read books, read periodicals, read articles. Anything you can read, you read. You can brainstorm. Remember, we've had brainstorming sessions, and those are super important to improving your critical thinking. We've had discussions. Again, another important task you do to improve it. You can experiment on your own. You can even attend presentations or exhibits once they open up again, of course, to seek out these ideas. And then finally, you should also take action. Be different. Create a different argument. Whatever. It doesn't matter as long as you're showing that you are thinking about the topic in a more critical way. Okay? Most of all, you should really be open-minded and flexible with whatever information that you're looking at to write a paper or create a presentation for work. You need to apply these ideas, these steps to every part of your life. You should always be asking, how can this be done better? No matter what you're doing, how can this be done better? I promise you it can be done better. I would also recommend you study innovation, you study change, creativity. Okay, be curious, be observant, look at the situations around you through the eyes of maybe a small child. Keep asking the question, why? Remember I said when you write, you should always use the word because it forces you to explain yourself. Well, before you ever get to the point of explaining yourself, you need to ask why something is the way that it is so that you can answer that question of because. Ask good questions. You should always be reflecting on every aspect of anything that you learn. Focus on the 5 W's, the who, the what, the where, the when, the why, the how. Focus on that. Develop your reflective thinking skills. Daydream about a situation. You guys daydream about all kinds of things, I'm sure. You can be imaginative, you can be wild, you can be logical. It doesn't matter. That's the point of a daydream. It allows you to free your mind, build your knowledge, your intuition, learn how to do research, and then visualize what you want to say or do. And then find a time and place that helps you think best. meaning use your triggers. If you think best at 7 p.m. at night, then by all means, you should be studying or getting your work done at 7 p.m. Now, obviously, you don't always have those choices when you're in college because classes are when they are. But as far as studying goes, you have a little bit more flexibility. Writing papers, same thing. Don't wait until the last minute. Nobody is ever going to have a trigger that says you will write a fabulous paper the day before it's due. And that's why we've been doing the brainstorming exercises to get you in the habit of creating outlines and doing things in advance, ahead of schedule, so you have more time to think. Okay, so now you know how to improve. You know what it is, you know how to improve your own skills. The most successful qualities of good critical thinkers are asking those right questions. All good critical thinkers ask those questions. They focus on that relevant information. They're able to separate opinions from facts and assumptions, right? So you separate the facts over here, and then you have your opinions and your assumptions over here, okay? They make sound decisions. They set their priorities. Like I said, plan in advance. Don't just sit down and be like, I'm going to do this today. No, plan that in advance. Good critical thinkers also learn quickly, and they apply what they learn to new situations. There is, however, a difference between critical thinking and problem solving. I do not want you to think that the two are exactly the same. It's not. Critical thinking is intentional. It's reflective. It's a way of looking at things or circumstances with that intent, with that reflection. Problem solving, however, focuses on one specific situation. Okay, so in the business world, we always have problems that need to be solved. Always. But what exactly is the problem? Well, maybe it's a time where you just can't figure out what to do. Remember in the beginning of the semester when we were setting goal statements and you didn't really know what to do after the smaller goals you made, or maybe you had no idea how to set the small goals. Well, that's something that is a problem that you had to solve, okay? A problem can be just any kind of difficult situation, a matter, a person. It can be any question involving anything that you are doubtful of, uncertain, or difficult, okay? It is a question to be answered or solved. It is a question. It needs to be answered or solved. But remember, this is not just positive. It can also be negative. The situations, the issues, the matters that need to be solved can be negative as well. They cover positive and negative, okay? Problem solving is this mental process that involves discovering, it's analyzing, it's solving problems to overcome obstacles. Remember our goal statements. That's what you were doing. You were trying to overcome this obstacle. Maybe you needed an A in a class, remember? And you didn't have enough money for a tutor. So the problem solving part of that is how did you come up with the money to pay for that obstacle, which is paying for that tutor, right? You had to find a solution that would best resolve the issue of coming up with that money to pay for that tutor to get that A in that class. Okay, that is the mental process you went through. It was a problem-solving one. So first things first, you should always define the problem. What is the problem? Why is it happening? At which point, then you develop the plan, just like we did with our goal statements, meaning what are we going to do? Next, you implement the plan. We carry out the steps that we think we need to take to fix this problem. And then afterwards, at the end, we evaluate. Did our plan work? Okay? Exactly like you did with your goal statements in the first week of class, second week of class. Did our plan work? Did you get the A in the class? If not, then you probably have a different problem, or maybe it's the same problem. And then you start from scratch and you go around in that circle one more time, defining, developing, implementing, and then evaluating it. Okay? So you have this decision-making process that you go through when you are problem solving. What does that mean? It means you have your situation, you know what the causes of it are generally, but that goes back to critically thinking and reflecting. And then after you figure out the causes, you come up with possible solutions. You should also be thinking about the consequences to each of those solutions. Okay, like if I need money for a tutor, I'm not going to go steal money from a bank. No, because the consequence would be I would go to jail. All right. After you think about possible solutions and consequences, you get your one and only solution. Okay, well, maybe I need to work a part-time job on campus to get this money. That is your solution. Afterwards, you hire your tutor, and then after the end of the semester, or maybe halfway through, depending on what you decided, you're going to review those results, and then you revise them as needed. If you're not seeing the results that you wanted, you review and revise as needed. Okay, so that's the situation. One more time, just so you really understand. Try and figure out exactly what your problem is. Write a problem statement if you have to. Okay, it helps to think of what you have but don't want, or what you want but don't have. That's your situation. Then you look at your causes, you brainstorm all possible causes of the problem. You attempt to get to the very root cause. Use your inner voice. Remember I said keep asking why. This is the exact location where you would keep asking why. And then once you found the cause, you think of all of your possible solutions. And then you use those solutions to evaluate all of the possible consequences of each solution. Choose the best solution based on what is most practical. Look at its effectiveness. How much risk does the proposed solution carry? Does it fit into your budget? Always check back to see how your solution is working. Remember those goal statements, we had check-ins periodically, every week maybe, every month, but those smaller goals are your check-ins. And then when you're checking in, if you're not seeing results, revise your plan as needed. Because, for example, you would not want to keep spending money on a tutor who is not helping you learn. Okay? So maybe make a decision-making checklist. Start now if you have to, meaning anytime you need to solve a problem or critically think, do you have all of the information you need? Have you considered all of the possible solutions? Will your decision help you meet your goals? If you answer yes to all of those things, then you should be fine. But if you're answering no to maybe you don't have all of the solutions, then you need to go and think about those solutions. Okay? Ask yourself if it violates any of your values. Have you considered the consequences? Can you live with those if there are any consequences, right? And then eventually you learn from your decisions. You think about what went well, what did not go well, what could be done differently, and then you revise again. That's the beauty of the problem-solving process, is that you can constantly revise things, okay? You're free to choose, but the choices you make today determine what you will have, what you are having in your life now and tomorrow, okay? So my final thoughts before I let you all go is you should be objective, think critically, use your tools, think both short-term and long-term, check with others when decisions may affect them, stay focused, use your values and goals as a compass, okay? And that's about all I have to say on this lecture. So again, read everything I've posted for this week. If you have questions beyond that, then let me know. But I will keep checking my email. And again, I'm really sorry we have to meet this way. But if you need to schedule a meeting or anything else with me, we can do so via Skype or Zoom. So stay safe, and I will talk to you again for next week's lecture.